Hello, and welcome to the Soulful Conversation Series, My Animal Mediumship Conversations. And today I'm honoured to share the conversations with Barford and Moonlight. I'm just going to share my screen. So for those of you who haven't met me before, my name's Annie Bourke, and I live north of Brisbane in Queensland, Australia. I'm an animal communicator and an animal medium. So that means I have telepathic conversations with animals who are living and animals who have passed over. And I've been doing that now for over 12 years. And I also mentor animal parents so that they can learn how to have conversations with their own animals, living and in spirit, and other animals as well. So animals have taught me that when they pass over, although their physical body no longer exists, their soul does, and their soul endures forever. And I think that's really comforting for animal parents who are grieving the loss of an animal, because it means that we can always connect with them and have a conversation. So there is no true separation. Yes, they're in the spiritual plane, we're in the physical plane, but we still have that connection with them. And that heart relationship, the love connection that we have with them, endures as well as their soul enduring. So when people arrange to have a conversation with their animal, it means that they can get questions answered. So you might have been wondering why your animal passed away if you don't have a diagnosis. You might be wondering if there was something else you could have done. Could you have done something different? Sought help earlier, understood earlier that something was happening. Perhaps they could have had a longer quality life. There are lots of questions that plague animal parents once their animal has passed over, and they often hold on to emotions such as guilt and remorse and regret, which our animals don't want us holding on to. So having a conversation can give you clarity, and it can also give you peace of mind. And that can profoundly change your grief journey, having your questions answered. It's also an opportunity for your animals to pass on their messages to you. They love having the opportunity to answer your questions and connect with you, but it also means that they get a chance to pass on their messages that they may have been waiting for ages to pass on. Often these are messages about love and gratitude for the care and security you've shown them. But because our animals are so in tune with us and our life purpose, they can also provide us with guidance, and this is their opportunity to do that. So I met Barford's mum while Barford was still alive, and he was a very loved cat. He and his mum had a very close relationship, and he lived after his 19th birthday and then passed away. And so it's hard to say goodbye to an animal at any stage of life, but having lived with Barford for over 19 years, his passing was a significant occurrence for Mum, and it really did affect her adjusting to life without having him there with her. And sometime after Barford's passing, Mum adopted a rescue cat that she called Moonlight. And on the outside, he looked very different to Barford, but they shared very similar, what I call yellow topaz eyes, very stunning eyes. Now, Moonlight was very chatty verbally with his mum, and so being very intuitive, she understood that he was trying to tell her something, but she wasn't sure what he was trying to say. So I had a conversation with him, and as part of the conversation, he did tell me that he had an aspect of Barford's soul in him. So Barford had in fact reincarnated and come back to his mum. And that's just so beautiful. Not every animal does reincarnate. It's not their destiny. And what they've taught me is it's not the whole soul that reincarnates. It's an aspect of the soul. So there will be an aspect of Barford's soul that's in heaven, and I can communicate with him in heaven, which I have done. And there's an aspect of his soul that's now in Moonlight, and I can have a conversation with Moonlight. And so he was very glad to have the opportunity to finally let Mum know who he was, because obviously he'd been trying for a little while to get her attention. And so he said that he had been trying to tell her who he was and how much he loves her. And he just had to come back and spend more time with her, and that they do share this very deep soul connection. And then I love this phrase that he said, that love is a little word, but it means so much. I'm excited for Mum to know the truth at last. And so I then had a quick conversation with Barford just to check what was going on, and he confirmed that he had reincarnated. And his wording was also beautiful. He said, "He is me and I am he." So he was confirming that his soul aspect had swapped into Moonlight just before Mum collected him. And Moonlight is just magnificent. You can see in the photos here posing in the sunlight. The third picture along the bottom is Moonlight sitting in front of Barford's ashes. And I think that's very significant. He just spontaneously spent time there with Barford's ashes. So that connection between them is very strong. So once Mum knew who Moonlight is, their relationship deepened even more, which was just lovely. But then a few months later, I was absolutely shocked one morning to receive a message from Mum to say that Moonlight had passed away. Now, this was just a shock on so many levels. Moonlight wasn't very old when Mum rescued him, and it was only a few months later that we had that conversation that Mum knew who he actually was, and then just a few months after to his passing. So it's a very short time frame that they actually had for their reunion. And so very hard for Mum, losing both of her precious boys in a short space of time. So I did speak to Moonlight in spirit, and he seemed just as shocked as his mum and I were with his passing, and he obviously hadn't planned to be leaving his mum so soon. He did have to adjust to the fact that he was now in spirit, and so he asked me to contact him in a few days' time because he wanted the opportunity to find another body to swap into so he could get back to his mum as soon as he could. So he was absolutely determined to come back as soon as he could. He was grieving on the other side. He didn't mean to cause Mum so much distress by passing over, but it's just the situation that they're in. And that's also what animals have taught me, that they know that we're grieving for them, and they're on the other side grieving for that loss of the physical connection with us. So, as Moonlight had requested, I connected with him again a few days after our previous conversation. And incredibly, he had already found a body to swap into and had negotiated that he could swap into a rescue cat. Now, this is a female rescue cat, so he's had 2 lifetimes in male bodies, and now he was planning to come back in a female body. He was able to tell me the specific rescue organisation where this cat was and where Mum would find him as a female. So I scrolled through the available cats, female cats at the organisation, and found this beautiful girl with absolutely stunning yellow eyes. No coincidence. And so I confirmed with Moonlight that this was the body that he was meaning, and yes, it was. So I had great delight in letting Mum know that Moonlight had found his body to come back in, and that Mum would be able to contact the rescue organisation and to start the adoption process. Mum was actually away from home when I contacted her, and she said that after being so heartbroken with losing Moonlight, this now gave her hope. So she was very excited about seeing the kitten and looking at the adoption process. So Mum had to go through a formal process to be registered as someone interested in adopting the kitten. And unfortunately, she wasn't available to adopt immediately because she had a skin condition, and the vets didn't want her being adopted out until she was medically okay. Now, very interestingly, Mum told me that Barford had a similar skin condition when he was young. No coincidence that these similarities happen. Anyway, finally, the kitten was well enough to be adopted, and Mum has christened her Luna to honour Moonlight. So that was very exciting to see the photos of Luna when she arrived home. So she's a much smaller cat than Moonlight, but straight away she was very confident being home. And it's interesting because apparently at the rescue organisation, she was very shy and timid. But once Moonlight's soul swapped into her, then that was different. And that's what happens when our animals reincarnate and they come home. They know their human family, they know the other family members, and they know where everything in the house is. So they know where they normally sleep, they know where their food is, they know where their toys are. It's just so fascinating. So I was interested to see what Mum thought when she connected with Luna and actually met her in person. And she said those yellow penetrating eyes just got her. So she just knew who she was. And she said Moonlight did the same thing, that Moonlight and Luna just gaze intently at you. So it's like their soul connecting in with your eyes. So beautiful soul recognition. And of course, as Luna's stayed at the house for longer, she's been exhibiting more and more of Moonlight's behaviours. And some of them she did straight away. So very playful and very affectionate and following Mum everywhere. And so Mum knew who Luna was when she collected her, and she could feel that love recognition. And that's what a lot of people have said. So even if your reincarnated animal looks very different to what they did in their last lifetime, you feel something in your heart and you know on a soul level who they are. And I was really impressed that Moonlight was able to negotiate the swap so soon after passing. And also that he was so specific with the information of where to find her, because the rescue organisation was actually some hours away from where Mum lived, and she said she wouldn't have thought to look there for finding another cat. So she's very grateful that he was able to give us that specific information, which means they've now been reunited. And she really is the most beautiful cat, but she is spending a lot of time with Mum and making the most of having a third lifetime in a row with Mum. Now, this is not uncommon. I know a number of people where the same soul aspect has been in 3 successive animal bodies. And I've got one client who's waiting for her dog to come back and have his 4th lifetime in a row with her in this lifetime as a dog. So to me, it's just amazing that there is this ability for them to keep coming back. And so I now understand that we must have had some kind of soul contract with these animals, that they just commit to coming back and having multiple lifetimes with us to help us on our life journey. Now, some of these animals may also have had relationships with us in past lifetimes. And so it may be hundreds or even thousands of years that our souls have been connected. This is all information that's gradually being revealed to me, and I pass this on during the conversation. So whatever the animals tell me about their soul connections, including past life connections, I pass that on to their humans. So the benefit of having a mediumship conversation with your animal in spirit means that you get answers to your questions, but more importantly, it really helps with your grief journey. And particularly if you've been holding on to emotions such as regret or remorse or guilt about decisions you made at the end of life, your animals can explain what actually happened, and then you can let those emotions go. And that is really powerful. I know a number of people have been carrying emotions about their animals passing for years, and it is such a relief when that burden can be lifted. So through having these conversations, Mum knew first of all that Barford's soul aspect was in Moonlight, and then that Moonlight was planning to reincarnate and soul swap into Luna. And so it just gives you hope and clarity knowing that your animal is coming back. And that really does change your grief process to be able to have another lifetime with that animal. And so for Mum, this is the third lifetime with that soul, and that's not insignificant. So even though we do go through that grief process when an animal passes away, knowing it's their destiny to come back, if it is, and as I've said, not every animal's destiny is to return, words can't adequately describe what you feel when your animal comes home. And I've tried to describe it as a mix of joy and euphoria and surrealness, because it just doesn't seem real. And so many animal parents say to me, I just wish I could hug them one more time. And then they're back and you can hug them again. And it's just dreams fulfilled. It is so wonderful that they can come back. And just that joy and the relief is just unbelievable. I've experienced this personally and experienced it with so many clients. I knew nothing about reincarnation until one of my cats let me experience it. And it is the most incredible thing that animals have taught me about. And I know there's so many people around the world grieving the loss of their animals who aren't aware that they can reincarnate and don't realise that there is life after life and that there is hope and that their souls endure. So how can you connect with your animal in spirit? There's a few different ways. You can book an animal mediumship conversation, which is what I've just described with Barford and Moonlight, and I can ask questions on your behalf. So I connect with the animals through photographs. So I just need photos of your animals showing their faces with their eyes open and their names, so I can introduce myself and get their consent to have the conversation. And then I ask the questions on your behalf. Or I also offer an intuitive session called Answers with Annie, where you give me statements, which could be yes or no answers, and I get intuitive responses to the questions. And that's not a formal animal communication session, but it's a different way of getting information about your animal. Or if you'd love to learn to talk with your own animals, living or in spirit, I now offer my animal communication mentorship program, where I work with you one-on-one with two animals, either yours or mine, so you can master the various aspects of animal communication. And also we include in that some mediumship sessions so you can connect with your animals in spirit as well. So if you'd like more information about animal mediumship conversations or intuitive sessions or the telepathic animal communication mediumship program, please message me on social media or email me, and my email address will be in the notes underneath the video. And I'd love to help connect you with your animals. There's nothing more empowering than seeing humans and their animals having an enriched relationship through having conversations. I also have free guides for animal parents on my website, which is www.cosmicheartintuitive.com.au. And my guide, Coping with Pet Loss, is available, and I'd recommend that you download it. My podcast is called What Animals Tell Me, and you can access the episodes for free. And I would recommend that you listen to season 1, episodes 1 and 2. In episode 1, I talk about energetic visits from your animal's soul and spirit when they come back to Earth to visit you and the other family members. And episode 2, I share some of my mediumship conversation experiences. And I think listening to both of those can help. I'm also loading conversations, including mediumship conversations, on my YouTube channel. So you're welcome to watch my other videos and to subscribe to the channel so you get notified as further videos get loaded. I'm the author of 3 books, and my 3rd book was published just a few months ago, called Crossing the Bridge to Animal Consciousness. This is part 2 of my trilogy, Bridging Animal Consciousness, helping animal parents to better understand their animals. And I wrote this 3rd book particularly for bereaved animal parents to explain more about what happens on animal soul journeys. So I talk about what happens when they pass over. I talk about energetic soul visits, talk about grief and healing and practical things to do to help through that. And then I also talk about the phenomenon of animal soul reincarnation. And I include lots of real life stories with my clients, including Barford and Moonlight's story. My first book in that series, The Bridge to Animal Consciousness, is also available. And that's an introduction to lots of things about animals and a brief introduction to reincarnation. My other book, Evolving Hearts and Souls, The Guide to Spiritual Awakening, I wrote because when I had my spiritual awakening, I didn't know that's what was happening. I didn't know it could happen. I'd never heard anything about it. And so I wanted to write something to help other people navigate their journey with more certainty and to demystify some of the really weird things that you can experience. So all 3 books are available directly from me in Australia. So if any of you listening are in Australia, please email me or message me, and I'll be happy to post the books out to you. For those of you watching from anywhere else in the world, you can purchase the books through your local Amazon store. So thank you so much for watching this episode of my mediumship conversations. And I hope the stories about Barford, Moonlight and Luna have inspired you to know that there is life after life, and that having a conversation with your animals in spirit can make a huge difference for you and your family members. So if you'd like to find out more about having a conversation, please message me and I'd love to help you. Thank you.